like just got so sidetracked. So I was thinking about croissants.
I mean, the thing is, a croissant is a perfect food.
Yeah.
You know, like I saw someone wrote online the other day, they were like, if I want food quickly, I'm gonna get a croissant because it's hard to get a bad croissant. And
Yeah.
I agree with that. I feel like even the worst croissant is still pretty good.
You've never had a vegan packaged croissant from Sainsbury's?
I have not. I have not had one of those. I've
Don't
had
do it.
vegan. Yeah, I won't. I will now. I know. I've had vegan croissants here in LA, packaged ones, but they're from like healthy stores,
Yeah.
and they're still like, they're not cheap. They're like less than I would say a croissant at a coffee shop, but they're still like I think like $1.50 a
Yeah.
croissant,
Yeah.
and they're fine.
They're fine.
But yeah.
No,
Now I know. No Sainsbury's croissants.
there's a vegan cafe and bakery in Sudbury, and that's where I'm going tomorrow. And they
Mm.
do like best croissants I've ever had. Like,
Can we go next time I'm there?
yeah, 100%. I also
Okay.
I hate to be the accent guy, but like the way you pronounce croissant, like it sounds shit in an
Croissant.
English accent. Sounds shit in an English accent.
I disagree.
Really?
I feel like
I feel like English people either like put on a like fake French accent and croissant, or
they do
like,
do that.
croissant, whereas you like croissant, you like the accent is like at the end, a croissant. You want a croissant?
You want a croissant? I feel like it's one of the few intonations where like us Americans go up instead of down.
Yeah,
Croissant?
yeah. Croissant.
Because like I feel like when I first came back from this trip, I went to dinner, and my friend was I was like, "Oh, have you tried any of the cocktails here?" And he was like, "Oh, are you fucking British again?" Sorry, can I swear? I will censor myself if not. Fuck yeah! And I was like, "Oh, god damn it!" Because like I like forgot like that the intonation, like I just pick up on it when I'm over there. And the first week or two that I'm back in the States, everyone's like, "What's up with all the questions? Why do you keep?" It's just normally, we would say, "Do you want a cocktail?" Like it would be very
Okay.
flat,
Okay.
right? And then instead of like, "Do you want a cocktail? Do you want a cocktail?" Like,
Question. I thought that was just like how humans spoke. I didn't know
No.
it's an accent thing. So I
It's-
just have to guess if Americans are asking questions because they will not tell
Yeah.
me the tone of voice.
Yeah.
Got
If
it.
anything, they'll sometimes say them like in a way that's like almost like a definitive statement when it's a question,
Yeah.
where it's just like, "Do you want to go on a drive?" And it's like, we're
Whoa.
going, right? Like
Yeah.
that must mean we're going.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, do you want a croissant and do you want a cocktail is never really a question. It's like, why are they not in my hand already?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Right.
100%.
Amazing.
Even if there's a night where I'm like, I don't really feel like drinking, I'll still get some kind of drink, a mocktail, you
Yeah.
know? I'm one letter away from what I want. I'll still say, we're close enough.
One letter.
Let's just
away.
switch that C for an M and we're in. Like
I feel like that would be your title. One letter away from what I want.
Yeah. That was me all through elementary school. Whenever I would get anything less than an A,
I'm just one letter away
from what I want. I feel like there's a lot of things that I could apply that to. Yeah, that could be a good memoir title.
Right?
One of the, I have one where, like I was writing something for one of my papers at Goldsmiths, and I was nerding out on how like a perfect sine wave doesn't exist. It like exists in theory, but it's like really difficult to have just like a pure sine wave without any sort of like, jaggedness within the like smooth, like the curve of the wave. And my friend was like, your memoir should be like a perfect sine wave doesn't exist and like other like something or other. And I was just like, I feel like that's like a cool name. I don't know how I would apply it to a memoir. But I think the point was he was just like you're a perfectionist and you need to get over it. And maybe one day at the end of your life, you will be like, and I was like, oh yeah.
Then it would be the perfect sine wave does exist.
Yeah. because I have accepted the imperfection and thus have achieved perfection.
I think we can end that there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
I just realized that like my first 2 guests on this are musicians.
Oh yeah.
And I know I know like next to nothing about music. When I say next to nothing, I mean I can play Mary Had a Little Lamb on a piano. So
I was gonna say you can drum.
I can't.
I thought you've been playing what kind of drum is it? Didn't you get a drum and you were learning?
I was like, have I been learning drums and didn't know because I friggin' want to? No, I did one of those like hang drums. They're like hand pans. Yeah. Boys and their toys. Got it really quickly. Sold it to. Oh my god, that was actually a really weird.
No, you already sold it.
It didn't last a year. I'm really bad.
It's fine.
I actually really regret it. I wish I didn't sell it because it was freaking fun. And I think I'm one of these people that I have so many things that I want to try that like if I pick it up and I'm not immediately excellent at it, I'm like, well, what a fucking waste of time. See ya.
Oh my god, yeah.
Put it on Facebook Marketplace. Classic. Like, I didn't really think anyone would be interested because I wanted to get like most of the money back for it because it was like a pretty pricey instrument.
Yeah.
And this guy, I actually am kind of glad I sold it for this story.
Okay.
I put it on Facebook and this guy was messaging me about it. We're going back and forth. I was like, yeah, it's this model, like it's in this key. I don't know anything about keys. Like sending him the link and everything. And he would take a really long time to reply. And I was like, man, Facebook Marketplace, like people are always screwing you over, aren't they? So
of course,
I was like, I'm not holding out hope. I've still had it on like eBay or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he messaged me one day and was like, oh, I'm really sorry that it's like takes me so long to get back to you. I can only use my phone when I'm at work because I live on a boat and I have no signal or Wi-Fi. And I was like, a boat?
That's cool.
That's really cool. Okay, what a cool guy. Anyway, turns out he's like just the other side of Leicester. And I was like, and also funny because I used to live there.
Right.
Anyway, we arranged to meet in a service station car park in Cambridge because it's halfway between the two of us.
Cambridge of all places.
Yeah. Well, because obviously I drive to Leicester a lot because I used to live there. So I knew that there was a big service station on a main road that was really easily accessible to both sides of the road halfway between us. So I was like, let's meet at the like extra, like Cambridge extra services off the like M11. But he could only do it after work. So at like 8 o'clock one night, I drove to like meet a stranger at a service station. Honestly, he pulls up in this like janky ass van, and I was like, "Oh god, it's happening! I'm getting abducted." And then,
oh god,
he's like, "I could only get half the money in cash or something. Can I transfer you the rest?" And I was just like, don't know what it is, but the universe is telling me to trust this guy. So I was like, yeah, sure. Like gave him my PayPal details. He did send money. He sent the rest of it the next day.
Good.
But we got chatting outside and I was like, I'm really sorry, like I've got to use the loo. And because it had been ages and I'd been in the car and he was like, oh, it's cool, I might grab a drink. And I was like, yeah, I thought about grabbing a drink. And he was like, do you want to grab a hot chocolate? I just like grabbed a hot chocolate with this random guy at like 9 p.m. at night in a service station. Like, yeah, I can't wait to like jam around the fire on this with my pals. I was like, oh, I love you.
I feel like that hang drum is living its best life now. It's doing everything it was meant to do.
Exactly. And that was exactly the thing, is I was like, this is so cool. And if I got my shit together and put the time in to learn it or like feel into it or whatever, I totally could.
Yeah.
But I was like, I feel like someone else out there is gonna really like use it to its full juice. And it's the random dude who lives on a boat and had a hot chocolate with. Legend.
Yeah, I love it, legend. I feel like also next time, if you want another hang drum, you should buy a used one on Facebook Marketplace.
Circle of life.
Exactly. Exactly.
I said, not musically good.
No. Hey, that was great. Like,
thanks. I remember once we were talking and you were like, I can't even remember what I said, and you were like, oh, do you like singing or anything? And I was like, oh my god, yeah, I love singing. And you were like, I should put you on one of my tracks one time. And I was like, bitch, I didn't say I was good at it. It's like reserved for the car and the shower. Yes, I will sing and try and hit every note and fail miserably at every single one.
I remember this conversation, and the thing is, I do feel like most people, like, you can get them in a room, and if someone's comfortable enough and like, you know, they're naturally inclined to singing and they're practicing in the car every day, it can work. Like, it's worth doing sometimes, but it really is like the mental hurdle of like, ooh, now it's professional. Like, as opposed to just like, you've been singing every day for like probably your whole life. So
yeah, exactly. Like, don't get me wrong, I have occasionally caught myself off guard with hitting a rather high note, and I've should I go on the X Factor?
Am I Mariah Carey?
I didn't realize she had passed, but she has been reborn in me.
Mariah Carey comes for this podcast and is like, I am very much alive. Like,
2 episode gets immediately cancelled for implying that Mariah Carey had suspiciously done.
Like, Mariah Carey rumored dead from podcast, and like, we get like a cease and desist. Mariah Carey, I love you. I know you're alive. Please don't sue Mads.
Please don't. Not emotional.
I know. Like, should we do like intros and stuff?
Literally that's exactly what I was just gonna say. It's like, I feel like we've been talking on here for like 20 minutes. It's just tales, and everyone's like, who's
what's happening? Who is this?
And thinking, who's that? All my listening thinking, who's that?
Yeah. And that's fine.
All my like 3 people that listen to my podcast.
Oh my god, there will be so many people.
I mean, it's not actually that bad. My mum did. Anyway, I'm not gonna say that. After my mum,
hi mum.
harsh feed. I don't think she'll listen. She gave me a bit of harsh feedback earlier.
Well, hopefully it was from a place of love.
100%. My aunt was like, oh, I loved your intro, just got to get used to people saying fuck so casually. I was like, yeah, maybe don't listen to the rest.
Me starting off the podcast with like, fucking, can I say that? Fuck yeah. And then great. Awesome.
I had to like select when I'm uploading it. I have to select like
explicit.
Yeah. I was like, no,
an explicit podcast. Do we talk in explicit voices the rest of the time? I did just wake up.
Oh my god, yeah. Thank you for. So you are in
LA.
Yes. Getting up. It's so trippy because I was gonna be like, oh my god, we should like pop a remote like glass of wine or something, and then I was like, it's 10 a.m. in LA.
I feel like that happens so much when I'm like, oh, like, let's do like a little Zoom drinks, like with friends in London and like UK. And then I'll always be like, well, my drink will either be coffee or tea, unless you want a day drink on the weekends. Like, I could do Friday night drinks my time, Saturday brunch drinks your time.
I mean, I feel like boozy brunch.
Boozy brunch.
Yeah.
Boozy brunch is an experience.
Yeah. I've
had
fan of it.
I like it, but I also feel like it depends on the setting because it can get like out of hand real quick.
Yeah.
Like there's been some New York boozy brunches I've been to where I'm like, it is 1 p.m. and I am in like Bizarro land kind of thing. Like there was this one place that I used to go to that was like an Aussie bar, and they had like no windows, or they had them all very like closed shut. So when you would walk in, you would never know what time of day it was.
Right.
And
Okay.
they did an all you can drink boozy brunch for $20 every weekend.
Whoa.
I know. And my friends and I had like just graduated from uni. We were like all working our first jobs. We like finally had like the two things we hadn't had, time and money. And I remember one time we were in there, and they had this vegetarian burger when I could still eat eggs. And it had like a fried egg on it and like a slice of beetroot. And it was so weird sounding, but I was so drunk that I was like, I want to try the egg beet thing. And it was, to this day, one of the most delicious meals of my life. But when I tried it again, when I hadn't been enjoying boozy brunch, not good.
Not good.
Not
The
good.
issue with booze is like everything is just a little bit better when you're a bit pissed, and then it's like it's fun in the moment, but the repercussions can don't drink.
Somehow I still haven't gotten a hangover. Like I'm still not a hangover person. I know.
You know what I've realized? For me, it's the sleep deprivation, because
That's what it is for
at
me
the
too.
weekend my friend came to visit, and I had a few drinks, but it was over such a long period of time and with food, so I actually wasn't really drunk, but I felt like shit the next day because I'd only had a few hours of sleep. Like it's that it's so
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. I mean, I feel like without a solid like 7-8 hours of sleep, well actually I can go for like a bit. Like I can lose sleep like here and there, like, you know, if it's as long as I'm getting good sleep in between the bad sleep. But if I get bad sleep for like a consistent like majority amount of time for 2 weeks, I'm not in a good place. Like,
oh my god, I'm
Yeah.
rubbish after like a couple nights of bad sleep. I'm like fucking flipping tables.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am the moodiest person. All I want
Yep.
to do is eat toast and shout at
Oof.
people. Like
Yes.
really weird. I get these
that's
crazy bread cravings when I'm tired. Like all I want to do is consume toast.
interesting.
Easy
I mean,
energy,
toast is
I guess.
great.
I think it's
so-
just like the carbs are like easy.
yeah.
I feel like we were like,
We did it. I'm from LA.
so Amanda's in LA. Peace. Let's talk about toast.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should tell the brief tale of how we met, because it's always hilarious. I
Yes.
love talking about
I love it. We shouldn't tell the whole tale, but we should tell most of the tale.
most of the tale. So we did we go to Mark's? Went to Mark and Emma's, didn't we?
I think actually I met you at yours or Nick's house. So Mark and Nick are two of our friends. I knew them through work. I worked in New York at a music licensing company called Audio Network. Mads was dating Nick. And I moved to London to go to do my master's in popular music and was going out to Colchester to see my friends. So I was meeting up with Mark and Nick, and what were you I feel like you had worked that day. I just remember I came into.
You remember it better than I do.
Yeah, I came into either, I think it was your apartment, like where you were living, and it was gonna be like, oh yeah, like, well, and Nick too, and Nick and Bart too, and
I think we were gonna go to Twisters,
Yes.
and you and I were like, we've not eaten, we should booze having not eaten, and I was like, I literally live in an apartment over the road.
Yes.
Let's run back to mine, like smash some vegan food in our faces.
Yeah, and then come back.
And then back out. What? 2 hours later and like
2 hours
texts, we were still at mine. Time has
Just like-
never passed that fast for me. It was like a time.
I know. I was like, I felt really bad because they were like kind of pissed. They were like, where are you guys?
We were in trouble for sure.
And we were just like, oh, we were just talking about like everything, like, I don't know, just like the meaning of life. And just like eating bowls. Like I'd never had a bowl, BOL. I'd never had and you were like, this is like, these are like posh, like just like vegan refrigerated meals. And I was like, sign me the fuck up. Like I'm gonna get these all the time.
It's like a fancy pot noodle.
I was like loving
it.
it. Yeah, it was good. You know, again, I don't need to be drunk to enjoy a bowl. Bowls are good.
Bowls are good.
I do love a meal deal. So
it's gotta be done. It's gotta be done.
Yeah.
And it lined our stomachs for the
rest of the evening.
For the party. But I still think we've only hung out
less than 10 times.
Less than 10 times.
I think it's like a solid, well, there were times in there though where it was for like multiple days. Christmas together, you know, like that was, I know, I forgive you.
So Christmas together, where Nick and I went home early and passed out so hard that when you and our mate Dave came back, Dave broke the key in the door and you couldn't get hold of us. So you slept on Dave's random mate's couch on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I felt so bad. Oh boy.
It was really funny.
So we had Christmas together.
Yes, I did question my life choices at that moment. I was like, I am waking up on Christmas morning on some stranger's couch.
Legend.
like,
oh my God.
Do I need to reevaluate things?
Oh man.
But it was great.
It was great. And then we went for dinner in Chelmsford that time. Do you remember?
Yes. Oh my God, Chelmsford. So cute.
That was good. And that was the last time before a few weeks ago.
Was that really?
Yeah, that was the last time before.
That is so crazy.
It had been like 3 years for sure.
Yeah. I thought that there was just more times maybe when I was living there. I think maybe a few shows. Yeah. But it's definitely less than 10 times. But always had like this like, oh yeah. Like whenever I see you, I'm like, oh yeah, we've just known you forever.
Immediately. Like, it's super weird. And so naturally.
It's so weird.
Naturally, the last time we hung out.
we got matching aliens. literally because whose names are Francois and Philippe.
Legends.
With PH for Fred, the tattoo artist, their dad. They had to be French too. Shout out to love
Fred.
You.
He was the best. He was my favorite
Fred, who when we walked in was like, I am not doing tattoos today.
He was like, no walk-ins.
Piercings only. Piercings only on Mondays. That was the rule.
Yeah, and you were like, oh, we just and he was like, what is it? And we were like, aliens, and he was like, I'm intrigued. I love that he was like, I am a believer. So
yeah, that was my favorite part when he was like I'm a believer. I was like, yes, this is exactly who I want to do these tattoos.
Like, we're meant to be today.
Literally, like it's happening. I did have a moment, like I feel when he was doing it and you had said like, how funny would this prank be if I didn't get mine? Where I was like, oh God, is this gonna be a big mistake if Mads is like, actually I don't want it anymore.
Imagine if he wrapped up yours and I was just like, so this has been a fun trip. And this is cute. We'll have matching tattoos for 24 hours and then I'm going to go home and smoke this bad boy off.
And I'm like, what is he pointing at?
He's pointing betrayal.
He's pointing at the face of a traitor. But yeah, no, I knew that you would come through. And especially because you were like, 6 years ago, I was reminded of this terrible space-themed tat that I got, and I'm like, space tats are off the table. I have too many. And I was like, what if we did one right now?
I know. You were like, oh, do you already have an alien tattoo? I was like, yeah. And I did tell Matt that I'd left my tattoo days in my teen years. And you were like, but what if we got an alien? I was like, I'm listening.
Yeah. Well, the other option we have is dumplings, and dumplings would be hard.
Yeah,
they would be a hard tattoo to do.
Yeah. If it kind of like spread out a bit as well, if the ink spread, it's like a weird blob. But
yeah, exactly. It's like it's hard to. I think that they can be done, but an alien is definitely more instantly recognizable.
Yeah, no regrets.
Like, now it's like every time I get a tat, I always am like, I want like 10 more tats. And like, yeah. get the itch. I hadn't got one in years because of COVID. So like now I'm just like,
no, I hadn't either. I think it was like, it was a good like 4 5 years, I think, since I'd had one.
Yeah.
So now we're in.
Now we're on.
I'm going back to Fred. Legend.
Oh my God. Legend.
Yeah.
If I was even remotely close to Fred, I would go to him. He's great.
That sounded so romantic. If I was even remotely close, I would go to him.
I would go to him. Fred, if you're listening, you're great.
If Fred listens to What's this beeping at me for? I don't know what that was. I hope
it's like the Fred alarm. It's like
we connected the aliens. It bounced to them and it bounced it back to Fred. Oh
my God. And he's like, shall I listen to a new podcast? Here we are.
Do you wanna like do a quick I feel like we're
what do I do? Who am I?
Tell people, what's your story? No, no, do if you are up for it, do kind of quick like what you do, because you're a fucking legend and legitimately one of the coolest people I know, which is why I was like, come be on my podcast. I'm going international.
International. Second episode. Let's go.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. I am okay, so wait. My name's Amanda Mayo. My artist name is Slow Shutter. I'm a music producer, DJ, composer, songwriter. I also work as a creative strategist. So I help brands and companies and artists, whoever, basically like figure out what their creative strategy should be in their digital marketing. I have been working in music and creative industries for a long time, starting at NYU, like while I was still in school. So that's like 2007, 2008. Been producing music since that time too. And currently working on some really cool projects, both for my own kind of artist projects. I have some new pieces in the works, new tracks in the works that are in different genres than what I've been doing under Slow Shutter. So I'm really excited to launch those under different names. All hush hush right now, but coming out hopefully sometime soon. And then I also am working on a project called Violet Disruption, producing music for that, which is a DJ avatar pop star deity that is essentially going to represent the experience of survival, and will operate in a number of different forms, both in live in-person immersive experiences, hybrid reality experiences, and virtual reality experiences over the next 5 years. And the creator of that is Stephanie Singer, who's amazing. So I was just in London and saw Mads because I was there working in the studio with Steph on a piece we have coming up for the Finnish Opera House, which will be really, really cool. That's at the end of 2022 into early 2023. But yeah, that's a little overview.
So exciting. It's so cool. I remember like the first time I heard your music, I was like, what? I don't know why. I'm always like, I don't know, I'm just like constantly dumbfounded by how fucking talented my friends are.
Oh, that's so cute.
I listened and I was like, that's so cool. And it was so fun because like obviously Matt doesn't know you, and I was like, oh, I'm going to London like see my my friend Amanda who's visiting from the States. Oh, what does she do? And I was like, oh cool, I get to tell who she is. I'm like,
that's awesome.
My friend's like biggest hype man. I was like, oh man, it's so cool. Yeah, it's just like a DJ. No big deal.
God, I really wish that you two had been able to come to my DJ set, because like if Storm Eunice hadn't happened, like, and you hadn't had your leg like thing, which like that obviously would have made it tough. Like in the bag. But
I've got my leg bit.
Hey. But yeah, no, I mean, I feel like DJing in the UK is one of my favorite things to do because
Yeah.
it's just I can go pure American cheese and everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I can't wait to like
Oh my
come
God, yes,
can't
come
wait
to LA.
well,
Oh
yeah,
my God.
I want to do it so bad.
Yes.
Yeah,
Come.
I've never
Look
been.
at my place.
It's so
That's all yours.
it's all mine.
It's all
It's
yours.
so cute. Is
Thank
your
you.
dog home?
Oh my God, no, she's with her dad. I really, I was worried she was gonna bark, so I was like, I feel like it's best for her to be over there right now. So,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Lobo's
But
not here.
Pogi, yeah, I was gonna say same with you, like Lobo's like,
Oh my God. I had to text Matt and be like, can you please ring me before you come in the house? Because our door is like the latch is really crap. You have to like slam
oh
it
yeah,
to get it to
yeah,
shut. And I was like, I don't need that noise on here.
yeah,
Just
no,
suddenly you hear and like
yeah,
hanging down, and the dog's like
yeah.
just made all those noises.
I
Right
know.
like so.
You told them that you didn't want them to do it because you wanted your time in the spotlight as a sound design,
As
you know,
a
full
sound
body.
masteress.
Yeah.
Add that to the
Exactly.
CV. Really good
Yeah.
at making key sounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
It's a specialty.
It's a specialty.
People need that.
So one question I do have, because
Mm.
I feel like so Duff, who I had on my first episode, we kind of spoke about it a little bit, and I realized that it's probably going to end up being a little bit of a theme like
Mm.
throughout these, just because I feel like it's a question I'm constantly asking myself, and I would love to know how other people kind of navigate the question with themselves.
Sure.
So we were basically talking about how do you know when a creative idea or plan or avenue or whatever is the one to follow, and how do you go about it, how do you kind of start
Mm.
scratching away at it? So I wondered what that like looked like for you, like when did you know that like music was a thing, and how
Yeah. It's interesting that question. I feel like there's like a way to answer it for like a in a very like micro way where it's like, oh, for one particular project or even like one song.
yeah
But then there's also like the macro way. I'll start with the zoom out macro way. And I feel like that was really, you know, I was very lucky because I started making music quite young. I don't even remember. My grandpa was a jazz pianist, so
oh, cool.
he was always playing piano, and I, as a you know toddler, like before I could even walk or anything, was always wanting to play with him. Like I was like obsessed with the piano, and whenever he'd be playing, I'd be like, I would just like want to be there. So he started teaching me so young. Like just you know, I remember playing around with like a little like tiny like Casio that he had, and some of my first memories of making music are just like making electronic music with that. And there's like all these pictures of me. There's actually one like over there if you want me to get it, if you
Yeah,
want to see, where I'm like literally on the beach, like playing, like 1 second.
that's so cute. Show me the goods. Oh my god, the steps up to,
Like,
steps up to the couch for Pogi.
oh yeah, yes.
So
She needs her independence. Oh God, I've moved the mic now.
jump up on it. That's so
No, she's way too small. She could jump off of it, but it's probably not like the safest or smartest thing for her to jump off of it. But yeah, here's the picture.
oh my god, that's amazing. Really swimsuit is so good.
I was like, Mom, this swimsuit. What was up with this?
That's
um,
so
it's funny because like I did have like so many really like cool clothes when I was a kid, but like I've always been just more of like androgynous tomboy, and like there's so many pictures of me in dresses where I look really cranky when I'm a little kid, where I'm just like or like I would stick my tongue out so like my mom couldn't get a good picture of me in the dress, where she'd be like, and like, oh, like you're in a little pretty dress, like take a picture, like make a pretty smile, and I'd be like yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so I started making music really young, so it was never really like a decision I had to make. It was something that I think I continually make the decision every day that I decide to make music. It's just always been something that's felt very much a part of me, and I started working like as a professional musician in like fairly young. And I think more on the vocal side of things. Like when I was at NYU, I was there for vocal performance, and one of the big decisions I did make was thinking more like, what do I want to specialize in as a musician? I hadn't given that too much deep consideration because I was just too young, right? Like I'd always been singing and playing piano. I learned how to play guitar, played drums really terribly for a little while. That is one instrument that I am not good at.
Right.
Yeah, I could program fake drums all day long, but
Yeah.
like drum set, like I'm just tried for 2 years, just not my did not do well. Not good. Um, but I love like making drums as a producer. But yeah, I discovered music production when I was having some voice issues. I had acid reflux, so my vocal folds were they developed like a pre-nodule.
Right.
And while I was getting the acid reflux sorted out, I'd gone to a specialist doctor who had said, you need to be on full vocal rest. At the time, that was really hard because I was like in the middle, like I was booked for shows. Like I was singing at Philip Glass's like birthday concert in New York in like a choir. Yeah, he's like a composer who is incredible, like experimental composer. And I was just like, oh, like I'm like 18, just feeling like the world is like crumbling around me because I'm just like I've always been a singer. I've never had any problem singing, like, and now I can't sing, like, and I can't even speak for a month. Like I turned 19 and my friends had a birthday party for me and I was on full vocal rest.
Oh my God.
So I like talked to everyone in post-it notes. It was good because I didn't have a smartphone yet. This is showing my age. Yeah, I didn't. Everyone's like, wait, what? Post-it notes, a pen, um right. But yeah, I feel like I discovered music production at that time, and that was a decision where I was like, I actually really love music technology. I do love singing. I'll always sing. I think for me though, I didn't want to be like someone whose main gig was singing because it's such a physical thing. It's like being an athlete. It's like if you're on stage like expected like 8 shows a week to to do that for me would have been, I think, really challenging just due to the physicality of it.
Yeah.
And I really prefer having a bit more creative freedom in my decision making.
Mhm.
So I loved that I could make not only, my own songs with my laptop, but my own instruments. Like the thought of just like designing my own personal like set of instruments that I could work with, and getting into sound design for me, learning different plugins and designing presets and doing just, getting into DJing and like the discovery of like how I could, use my experience as a performer to bring so much joy and, I mean, honestly, lots of emotions, but like overall this like memorable night out experience to people. That was like for me, like I think those decisions were very intuitive and very much like this feels really good, so I'm just gonna keep going with it.
Yeah.
And if it ever doesn't feel good, then I'll reevaluate. But I've always been a very like it can drive some people crazy because I'm very much just like decision. And people will be like, you seem really confident about that decision, but you
Yeah.
didn't seem like you thought about it. And for me, if I overthink something, then a lot of times I'll like think myself out of it. I'll
Yeah.
just get like
Yeah.
too anxious and too like, oh God, like, but then what if it fails?
Yeah.
So I just have to, I think I've learned over the years that if there's something that's calling me, it's worth like diving in and okay, if I fail, at least I tried, as
Yeah.
opposed to,
I
you
love that.
know,
Yeah.
oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? I like, should I ask around? Should I research? Because that I think can become a slippery slope into inaction, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Yeah. I relate. I feel like that's so good that you've learned that at a fairly like early stage,
Yeah.
that you know to just like, because that's exactly like, I just question everything. I want to be that person, and I'm slowly getting better at being that person who just fucking does it,
Does
because
it?
I will just question everything. Like, okay, I need to sit with this for a bit. I'm going to ask a million questions. I'm going to evaluate this. I am going to bug every single person in my life with this question to get their opinion. And then I'm like overwhelmed by all the other different opinions. And
Yeah.
it's just make your own fucking decisions. What's my way?
The thing, it is really hard, and I do feel like there's value in doing that as well. It's definitely like, I think every person will have a different kind of experience of it. Like I know people who their decision making process is very much like I would say like more of an extroverted process where they want to have all of those opinions. But
Yeah.
for me personally, like I feel like if I get too many differing opinions, it can throw me into a limbo.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just
Well,
do it.
yeah, and it depends. I think it depends on the subject, doesn't it? Because if it's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
massive life decision or whatever, and you
right.
you want, people might give perspectives that you hadn't thought of, and that can be
Yeah.
really useful. And if it's a decision that impacts someone else, then of course
Oh, yeah.
you want to have that discussion. But when it comes to particularly like creativity,
Mm-hmm.
I think the
Yeah.
thing I'm slowly learning is like, you cannot second guess it. You just got to grab
Mm-hmm.
it by the nuts and make it happen. Like,
Literally.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Grab it by the nuts and make it happen. I do
I love
feel
your
like
autobiography.
that's that's the autobiography right
That's
there.
it, isn't it? I'm gonna note that down.
I mean, that's too perfect. But I feel like the with creative things, it's good to keep in mind as well that a lot of people may project their own insecurities about their own creative
Yeah.
dreams that they've been afraid to pursue onto others.
Mhm.
So that's something that I think is really a shame, because there's a lot of people who haven't explored creative pursuits because they've said, oh, I'm going to try, like, let's say someone's like, I want to learn guitar and I want to, like, be in a band.
Mhm.
And someone will say to them, oh, well, you haven't played guitar since you were a kid. Like people who are professional guitarists in bands, they've
Mhm.
been usually playing for like a really long time. Like it's going to be really hard. It's going to take forever. You're not going to be good for so long. And they'll like put that kind of out there onto someone.
Yeah.
And that's not the mindset you want to go into when you're learning something new. The mindset
Yeah.
has to be, this is so new. Of course, I'm not going to know what I'm doing yet. And that's the joy of it. That's the
Yeah. Oh
fun.
my God. You get to
Um,
experience and learn something new. Like, that's
yeah,
what life's about, right?
exactly. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's been proven like psychologically to like improve things like mood and like attention and connection when you're constantly learning new things. Like
Yeah.
beginner's mind is such a powerful approach to living for a reason. And it's been around for centuries for a reason. As a philosophy, it's a very, I think, valuable way of existing,
Yeah.
like intrinsic value, not value in like a monetary sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it can translate to that, right? So it's like, that let's say hypothetical guitarist, if they'd heard that, may have said, oh shoot, I'm not gonna, like, I don't want to go through that. That seems like it's gonna really suck.
Mhm.
Whereas if they had just maybe started playing guitar and messed around and had a good time, and then they just kept playing guitar, it's like, who knows what could happen? There's no age limit or time limit on anything. There's people, in bands, like one of my favorite artists ever, like Sonic Youth. Kim Gordon, like, I think when that band started, she was like 36, 37, and like they were around for like forever. Like she had worked for years in the 80s, like in the art world in New York. Like she
Yeah.
wasn't even like, she was in a different industry, and but she like loved making music and had the opportunity to be in a band, and she was like, yeah, like let's just do it. And I think people have this mindset of like, if you don't do something by the time you're like 20 years old,
Yeah.
then
You've
you
missed the
can't do
boat.
it. And
Yeah.
that is like a crazy thing to think about, because life is so long and there is so much time to do so many things,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
that should never be the roadblock, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I think because of, I think probably like schooling and like the
Mhm.
work world
Yeah.
probably has a lot to play in that, because it's like, well, you've got to, you can't, they put all this pressure on like 17,
Mm.
18 year olds to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life, because you
It's
need to
crazy,
go to uni. And it's
right?
like I didn't go to uni, and
Yeah.
so I had no idea.
Yeah.
Coming out of my A levels, I'd always thought I was going to go to theatre school and I was going to be an actress. That's
Oh
always,
my God, I didn't know that.
yeah. So I did, like, I'd always been in like Stagecoach or whatever. I was
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
dancer when I was a kid,
Oh
and then
my
got
God.
into like acting, a little bit of singing.
Love it to sing it.
Gonna go to stage school, like that was always the thing. So like the only A level I was set on was, well, I'm going to do theatre studies, obviously.
Yeah,
That's,
obviously.
and then I was like, oh, sociology looks kind of fun. I feel like I should do something a little bit like almost sciencey, but I was
Mm.
science. So I was like, oh, I'll do something a little bit sciencey. And then I wanted to do art.
Mm.
But I think I got like a couple of really crappy comments from art teachers, and was like,
Oh
I'm not good enough,
no. No.
technically good enough to do art at A level. And they offered photography, and they were like, oh, we think it
Mm.
might be the last year we're going to offer it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, sure,
Yeah.
whatever, give that. And
Yeah.
that, like, that's how I kind of like fell into photography, was
I
through,
had no idea that was the
yeah,
path.
yeah. But I didn't want to go to uni because I was so like, I have no idea. And I was struggling enough with my A levels because I wasn't particularly academic at that age. And all my teachers were like, got to do your UCAS, just apply. And I was like, but I don't know what I want to do. They were like, just apply for
Yeah.
something, do business studies. And I was like, no,
Yeah, that's
waste like thousands of pounds and all this time,
literally.
when actually what I want to be doing is just revising for my A levels, because it's all well and good you making me apply for uni, but if I can't revise, I'm probably not going to get in. I'm really struggling, bro. Like,
like
it's
we
so
need to
messed
get the
up.
timeline set. It really is, I
Yeah,
think, so unfair. And it's not the way that I think people should be forced to kind of like get into academia. I think it puts a really
yeah,
bad taste in so many people's mouths
yeah,
about what academia is. And
definitely.
and I think, you know, especially 16, 17, like the states, we have a different system where you know, the decision is made at 18. But even then, you can go to uni as a general studies student and
Right.
then decide after 2 years.
Okay.
Even then can be quite young, but it's like you can wait until you're 20 to make that decision.
Right. Okay.
16, it's like, who knows what they want at 16?
Exactly.
Maybe like a very small percentage of
Yeah.
people. And it's so much pressure to put on someone who is so young. It's just I'm and what's really strange is like now, like in today's world, I do feel like generalists, people who are like you, who have so many different passions, so many different talents, that is who's doing so well in this
Yeah.
current like climate of you know, both work and academia. It's like
Yeah.
being able to make those connections between various mediums and various fields. That is something that I think has real world application.
Definitely.
Um,
I agree. I think
so,
I'm like finally seeing the value in that, because obviously, if you
mm,
want to be like a doctor or something,
right.
you probably need to like focus on that. You
Of
know,
course.
some people's lives so hard. Like,
Yeah.
you go to uni, you study hard, but
You go
like,
to uni, you study hard. Please, like, make sure that I stay alive.
yeah, thank
Like,
you very much. But
thanks.
like, I feel like for ages, I think I might have mentioned this in the last one, actually, 2 podcasts. I'm already repeating
Yeah.
myself. Wow, she's got so little life experience.
No,
And
no, no.
I I feel like everyone I kind of like would listen to on podcasts or would read about or whatever, it was all people that were like, oh, they do this thing and that thing and the other thing. But I was so obsessed with finding the thing because of like, yeah, because of school and stuff. And I think actually it's, yeah, there is value in, like you say, being able to connect like with friggin' multi-dimensional beings. Like there's a lot of shit going on.
Yup.
And I think, like you say, like particularly the school system can leave a really bad, like a bad taste in people's mouths, because I can speak for myself, and I know a lot of people I've spoken to as well. It takes them from like being out of school for years to want to learn again. Like
I know.
years of me being out of school until I like started doing a couple of online courses and realized that I actually really do understand science. I just didn't at school because I was like in a science class with a few of my boy mates and I preferred to fuck around and I always got sent out. Actually, I want to learn about that stuff, and like I'm learning a language, and I always thought I'm too old to learn a language. You can't learn a language when you pass being a kid.
And it's like
what? Why?
At all. Yeah.
Why? Do everything. Grab it all.
Grab it all.
All the nuts.
Grab it all. No, all the nuts. Grab all the nuts. I do feel like that also is another, I think I said recently actually when I was in London, where I was like saying that one of my favorite things to do is like light a fire under people's asses.
Yeah. Oh, you have a talent at that. Every time I hang out with you, no joke, when we went to London, I was like, it took me like 4 days to come down. I was like, I was just so, I got up the next day and was like, yeah.
That makes me so happy.
I was so hyped for like a good 3-4 days after.
I mean, honestly, like, same. Yeah. I feel that you do the same thing to me. Like, even after this call, I'm gonna be like, yeah.
You're like, I'm getting the day.
Yeah, that's true. I have a whole day to get.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that's another thing where it's like, on my tombstone, the joke was like, they lit a fire under people's asses.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like, but I think that the reason that I'm so interested in being a lecturer is because of that particular experience I've seen among so many of the people that I love so much, like people that I care about so deeply, have told me things that align with what you said, where it's just like they've been made to feel like they can't learn, or it's not that they can't learn, but that they don't enjoy learning, and that they can't do certain things because they didn't learn within this like very specific structured environment. And it's just not true at all. I think the structure is it's there in an archaic way because there was a time where, you know, pre-internet, for instance, I think that people were doing the best that they could with what they had, and they were like, if we try and teach everyone this way and we standardize things that way, you know, hopefully we will have kind of an agreed upon way of doing things that will make systems run better. However, even those systems and those structures were designed with a certain type of brain in mind. And not everyone learns by memorizing. And it's just like, there's no need for us to memorize things in this day and age. Like, we have access to more information than ever before. What we need to learn how to do is how to critically think and make decisions and be able to, you know, navigate conversations and navigate external communications with tons of people, with like essentially a global audience at all times. You know, there's different pathways to both learning and sharing knowledge that we've really never had until, you know, the past 25 years or so. And I think for so many people, it's you know, hands-on learning learning in ways that they can apply it in an individualized way to their own lives. Like that is where there's so much there's so many interesting things there. So I would love to like bring that into more structured academic environments and say, you know, this is here's a concept, here's a kind of overview of how this has existed throughout time, and here are all of the ways that it has been interpreted from different perspectives, because like I think it's also really important to say, you know, a history of something is never full. It's like this is like what has been documented, but there may be so many other voices involved in the, you know, creation of this musical art form, let's say,
Yeah.
that were just not recorded. And you know, encouraging research into looking into potentially like hidden pathways, you know, like I think that that's like something that I really want to encourage, but also then saying, now you have this overview, think about how you want to explore this. So it could be research, like I just said, or it could be actually doing it, or it could be, you know, documenting people doing it, like doing it from the perspective of like, you know, journalism almost. Like it's like there's so many different ways to engage with new information and with different fields that I think that there should be so much more cross pollination,
Yeah.
and
I love
the
that.
grading should be, you know, effort based. It's like how much time and energy did you spend on this? Have you spent, you know, as much time and energy as you feel like you could to get to a certain outcome? Have you hit your goal? It's like, again, individualized on that level. I mean, if I have to grade, which I feel like, again, is like kind of silly, but it's like, you know, if that is a marker of did this person do the work or not, I think rather than saying, you know, this has to align with this like very specific set of parameters, instead say, how much time did they put in? What did they learn? Can they talk about what they learned? That's where, for me, that's a distinction, because it's like someone has put in a lot of thought and a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's, and even if, and like the willingness to say, like, I tried this and I actually like couldn't come up with like an output, like I couldn't execute the idea, but here's everything that I tried. That to me is still a distinction. You
Yeah.
know, it's like that's life. Like there's times where you try and do things and you're just like, I didn't get it to where I wanted, but I learned so much. Like
Yeah.
that's not a failure. That's a success.
Man. Oh my God. I hope one day the entire like academic world is just being run by people like you, because we will have so many more like juicy, open-minded, like emotionally in touch like people in the world like that. That's really cool. That's nice
Mm.
as well, because I feel like I've like learned so much more about
Oh,
you,
good.
which is nice. Well, I mean, which makes sense because we've literally hung out this
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah,
so
exactly.
much more.
Yeah, like I don't know if I've ever nerded out about like the future of academia with Matt.
I did love that. I'm so glad that this was the space that you did that in.
Right? Yeah.
I keep having this horrible like nervous moment that like it's not gonna like save or something,
Oh my
because
God, I know, right? I have that. I'm worried about that
technology
too.
today has
Yeah.
been like it's done its bit, so now it's
Yeah.
going to be excellent and work really efficiently.
Yeah. I mean, we're recording the Zoom and hopefully everything's
It's
there.
going to work. It just says it saves when the meeting ends,
Yeah. It does.
and
I've
if
done
not,
this.
we had a lovely conversation.
Exactly. We had a great chat. um yeah, I mean, I feel like what is your what are the things that you've been learning recently that you feel like aside from the language? I feel like you've been like deep diving into a lot of things.
Yeah, and I actually have, and I feel like even like now, every now and then it kind of creeps back in, and it's like, pick one thing, and then I'm like, no.
No.
Like I do think there's certain things that it's really good to kind of like hone your attention in on and focus on, you know, maybe just a handful of things for a bit of a period of time, because it can be really overwhelming, especially when you're like self-employed and you kind of wake up and you're like, what shall I do with the day?
Yeah.
And then you kind of sit there with a coffee for like 3 hours, like,
Do you
I'm
want to see
overwhelmed. I'm
Do you want to
overwhelmed.
see my structure for what do I do with the day?
Yes.
Beginning of every week, this is what I do for the week.
Whoa, this is good. This is
And
good.
then
I need this in
every
my life.
day I map out, like if I'm ever like, what do I do? I'll go back to what do I do for the week,
Yeah.
and then map it out on different days.
I need that in my life. Yeah.
I'll send you the link to get it.
Because I think as well, like valuing learning, because for so long I've had this thing of like, well, if it doesn't immediately bring me money, then it's not worth my time, which is so fucked up. It's so fucked up. And
It's so
actually,
fucked up.
I've been reading a shit ton of books. Like I've been learning loads about plants, like growing plant, like
Yeah.
veg stuff, but also like medicinal plants.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm doing this online course on like psychotropic plants.
I
It's
love that.
so science heavy. Oh my God. I was like, I'm gonna learn about mushrooms. And then the whole first section was like neuroscience. I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And like
it's so interesting.
And that was the thing that made me realize, oh, I do know this. And also made me realize why I did so badly at school, because my short-term memory sucks. So I couldn't remember stuff for testing, but then I keep hitting my mic. I'd be like out for a walk with Matt, like 5 weeks later, and I just randomly like drop this bit of knowledge and be like, oh my God, it went in.
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
It just was taking its little time, you know? It was
time to like, and like
marinating in there.
Sleep for like, and that's another thing I've like nerded out on loads, like sleep, weird like body hacking, the science behind running, like learning.
God, I love running.
It's like so weird. Like I've learned I'm a massive nerd. Who knew?
Yeah. I knew.
I'm gonna say, you're looking at me like
I knew this.
But I was always one of those like dumb nerds. Like she kind of looks like a nerd, but like she does really bad in her exams. Like, what does it mean?
I feel like the people I know who are the biggest nerds in like the coolest ways, hated school. Like hated school. Like some of my favorite people, like my ex, who's like one of my best friends, he hated school with a passion. Was just felt so boxed in, because he's similar to you, where he has so many different passions, so many different skills, and he just wanted to explore all of them. And everyone kept telling him, you have to focus, you have to focus, you have to focus. And he was like, that doesn't naturally come to me. Like, and now, you know, he is someone who has done a million things in his life and career and done them all quite well. Like successful musician, like was in, you know, recording sessions like as a drummer with like huge like metal and post-hardcore bands in the Northeast, like in his like late teens, was like a sponsored longboard videographer by the time he was like in his early 20s, has like worked as like a technical like manager at this company selling like $1 million deals of like units of like servers like now for like the last few years. It's just like amazing. If he like, you know, like he just and he told me, he was like, I don't think I ever got like maybe more than like 5 A's, like not even close, like in the whole time he was in school. Like I don't know if that's like exactly true.
1 A in my entire career. It's within drama.
I was gonna say it, like in things like, I think that was like same with him, where it was like he would get like an A in like music. Whereas like, you know, I think so that's like you're seeing right there. It's like it's such a shallow representation of someone's abilities to like put that number or put that grade on them, because, you know, the things that he was getting C's and D's in school, he then was doing in the real world in an amazing way. And actually for myself, like I actually am more suited to academia. Like I will do better in an academic setting than I will in like an office setting, for instance. Like an office setting for me, it's too just overstimulating. There's like so many, I mean, I can do it now, but when I worked in an open plan office, I've really struggled. Like I would cry at my desk all the time because I'd be like, I just want to do one thing at once. And people would like interrupt me constantly and be like, well, now you have to do this, and now you have to do that, and now you have to do this, and I'd be like, oh, like I'm gonna shut down. But that's just, you know, different brains. And I think it's so interesting that like school rewarded me for being that way, for being really single minded focus, but then the real world was like, hard reality, and vice versa, you know, for someone like you who I think you can be in a wedding and you're like, I'm going to make sure that I capture all of these different things. And you're thinking about like, where do I need to be to get this, like, and do
Yeah.
that. And like on a shoot, same thing. It's like when we did our shoot, you were already thinking like, oh, I'm going to do the overlay over this. And I feel like I could do this and that.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I think that there's no way to like quantify that in like a school environment really in the way that it's structured right now.
Yeah, definitely. Even like I always found it so weird that so I had a photography exam and I was like, oh, am I gonna have to like analyze? Like to me, exams were like super like academic. So I was like, what am I gonna like analyze a photo? And they were, no, it's a 15-hour practical exam. I was like, come again? 3 days in the same room with 5 people. I wanted to cry. I had a 3-day exam, photography exam, and you basically had to pre-prepare your piece. So you had all the different components. So you'd basically already created it, and then they locked you in a room for 3 days and made you recreate it. I was done in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I did for the rest of the time. No idea what I did for 2.5 days.
That is so...
Think about how miserable I was and how stoked I was to leave school. Like
literally, yeah.
So sad. And like, and again, that's, you know, the like speed element. You know, I had written exams. I'll never forget one of my biggest. So I did theatre studies, not drama. So I had a practical, and then like 60% of the grade was written exams.
Oh.
So I had a 2-hour written exam. And I was like, I think I had 3 questions. And the first question took me like 50 minutes. And I was like, okay, probably a little bit longer than it should have, but it's cool. Like I'm ready. I'm just going to quickly reread over it. And I'd read the question wrong. And I'd spent 50 minutes writing an essay about the wrong character. And I had like a really like tiny, like, scream for like 10 minutes. And then was like, cool, I have an hour to write 3 essays now. But then in the photography exam I was done in like an 8 of the time. Like it's just so, it makes no sense. Like
no sense.
It's just
no sense.
I think the main thing we've got out of this is school is fucked.
Yeah.
Go. No,
school is fucked and it needs reform.
Yeah. And we are here to do it. No,
yeah. And like I think that there's, I mean, that will resonate, I think, with the majority of people.
Yeah, I think so. I think I had like a couple of mates at school that were like those classic super academic, good at everything types, like played every instrument, sick at science, like epic at math. Yeah. And I just like wasn't that academic, but I was always the one like looking after everyone at parties, getting us all home safe. I knew how to like run a house and like cook meals and like and just like be sensible and like we always joked that like I had the life skills but they had the like academic skills.
Literally, and no, that's
comes like it kind of comes later. You know, eventually the playing field kind of you're like it's
I want to stress to everyone listening to this podcast
that many of you
every time that I was with Mads when we first met, you were just like taking care of me, and this is something I am like not good at doing for myself a lot of the time, and I'm terrible accepting help most of the time. So normally I'm like a mess and people are like trying, well, not like a mess, but it's like I feel like I'm very like cerebral, so like I'm in my head thinking about something and I'm not noticing that I'm like about to walk into the wall, you know, like that's
you're like, in your inside world.
I'm just inside world, and like there's times where like I have to remind myself to like notice things, and it's like I'm like, whoa, like there's
a whole world out here.
So with things like, you know, food and like getting around and stuff like that, I remember when we first met, like obviously the bowls thing, but then the next morning even you were like, I've made you breakfast. Here's like a vegan cereal with like fruit, like with a banana on top, and like what kind of coffee or tea do you want? And I was just like, who is this person?
The
I
mom.
feel like, yeah, like the mom, but in the best way. And I recently was talking about this with Steph, my collaborator on Violent Disruption, where she was like, who in your life like mums you? And I told her, I was like, I'm pretty sure I don't let most people mum me.
Yeah.
Even my own mom.
Yeah.
Like my own mom is always like, let me help you. And I'm like, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know why I've always been like very hyper independent like that. But then I genuinely need help a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was amazing because you like not only saw that, but you also were like, I'm not even gonna ask the question of like, what do you want right now or what do you need right now? You're like, here's a bunch of stuff. And I'm just like,
You. That's
you're great.
that's nice to hear because it's for I literally like was writing in my journal earlier and was like, I wrote like, I am grateful to accept help and support because I suck at it. I suck at it. I cannot ask for help. I cannot accept help, but because I am, it's me and my mates always joke about how it's like so ironic that I don't want to have children because I am the mom. I am like,
I'm the same way.
I'm looking after you. Come round. I will cook for you.
Yeah.
Like I'll have 2 people over for dinner and there is definitely enough to feed 12. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm there, but I can't. But then someone will try and do something nice for me, and I'm like, no, I got it. It's good. Don't worry. And I thought about it the other day, and I was like, how shit does it feel when you are trying to help someone and they push you away?
I know.
Don't be that guy.
I know.
Accept the help, man. Be nice. Like, I have like had many lovely relationships, not to talk smack on any of my exes. They've all been lovely and beautiful in many ways and learned loads from each other, but like I've probably actually, it's nothing to do with my exes. I'm suddenly realizing everything is a mirror. I've never been able to like accept help and support before. So now, like in the relationship I'm in now, I'm like, I'm kind of slowly scraping away the layers of like, I'm gonna let you help me and trust that everything kind of comes back in a balance, and it's we all just helping each other. I think there's so many beautiful things about being independent and being able to look after yourself and stuff, but we're community creatures, aren't we? We're not we're not made to go out on our own and like it's we
like live in the woods and like eat berries, like we're like those were the humans that died.
Exactly it's like right, you want someone to pick the berries, someone's going to be hunting the whatever, someone's building the house, someone's starting the fire. Like it's literally it's that's and again I think actually that like beautifully circles back to everything we've been speaking about, like creative endeavors and education and stuff, is we're not only supposed woo, every word just came out all in one go.
No, it's because it's such a powerful statement. It's like, I want to come out.
We're not like, I'm actually getting really hot. We're not supposed to only focus on one thing, but we're also not supposed to be expected to be able to do everything ourselves. It's not, do you know what I mean? It seems like a really weird polarity of like, find this one thing, do it forever, but also you need to be able to do everything yourself. Like it's so it's
a hyper individualist society, I think, expectation in like both like the UK and the US. Like there's this feeling of like you have to do it yourself, and that's just unrealistic for I would say, I mean honestly, for everyone. It's just it's impossible. And I think that there's so much value, I think, in recognizing that. Like that's been a huge journey of mine too, like over the last few years, I would say, just accepting help and accepting, like, because I like my favorite thing to do, I'm the same, where I'm like, I want to cook you dinner and I want to do this and I want to do that, and like especially if I'm like the one hosting, so it's like if you're in my home or if I'm like out with people, it's like let me treat you to this and treat you to that. Like it's like one of my favorite things to do. Random gifts, like, or and like things that are just like super crazy surprise. But having the ability to have that favor returned has always been a struggle for me, because I feel like it's a strange like letting go of control.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
And
I feel like
yeah,
it becomes a control issue, 100%.
yeah, where it's like, well, if I control, like I'm the one doing everything and I'm not like taking anything, then that means, that this is like on my terms, and that's just not true. Like I think that it's not about that like transaction. There's no transaction. It's something that is so nebulous, and it's just based within a connection, you know? And like you said, it's like you don't want to be that person. Like it's always so hard when you're like, "Please eat this thing I made," and they're like, "Oh no, I'm good," or like
Yeah.
please take this gift. No, you shouldn't have gotten
Yeah,
me a gift. Like,
exactly. I have to remind ourselves that
yeah,
every time. I love that.
definitely.
I feel like we have like I wrote down a few questions, and I feel like we've like they're shit, and I want to throw them in the bin. Like I feel like we've covered so much more, and like such a vast expanse of stuff
Yeah.
in such a short period of time, and I'm so stoked, and that is exactly why I wanted you. Where can people find you? You like plug your stuff, and I'll put it in the show notes so that people can follow you and listen to your freaking speech.
Yeah. Yeah, so Slow Shudder is my artist name. That's SLOW space SHUDDER. So it's play on words. And then that's at Slow Shudder on Instagram. Twitter is like not, I don't use it a ton anymore. But it's slow and then like underscore shutter in between. So yeah, you can I'll send all the links over and stuff.
Amazing. Yeah,
Working on a new website, so once that's done too, I'll send that over.
I'll like update everything with all your
Yeah.
fun, awesome, juicy new stuff.
Yay!
Thanks,
Oh my
dude.
gosh, thank you.
I'm gonna like stop this so that we can
Yeah.
proper goodbye.
Sounds good.
Thanks, dude. This was
Oh my
like
god.
I knew it would be epic, but it was like 10 times more epic than I expected. So thank you.
Oh my god. Thank you so much. It was so fun. All right. Bye.